like your Nikon, Canon type cameras, okay? It's a single reflex that uses a mirror that opens and closes. Mirrorless are newer. They don't have the mirror, therefore their bodies are a lot smaller. A lot of the point and shoots that you have are kind of a mirrorless camera. But what I tell the professional photographers and the intermediates and the amateurs like myself is don't forget about the other things. Don't forget about your point and shoot cameras. Don't forget about your cell phones. If you have a GoPro. Now, on the surface, and I'll answer this in more detail and the other one relating to cell phones. If you are taking a picture with any camera, it should be protected. Alright? And there's ways you can do that. You can, again, use the filter material from a pair of glasses. Okay? You can, and I've seen conflicting responses to this, and this was somebody said, can I do it with like a selfie stick looking over my shoulder, which for your eyes would be the safest thing to do, and for most of the cameras, when I say cameras, cell phone cameras, you'll be okay, but be very careful, and I'll tell you a little secret. If you think about taking a picture of the sun, what do you think you're going to see in the picture? It's going to be blown out. You're going to see a big blown out. You're not going to see the sun, but I'll tell you a little secret about cell phones. And I'm hesitant to do this because I don't want anybody to ruin their phone. It's not your phone is your responsibility. Okay. But if you do that and you take a picture, and you probably have done that where there's been a really bright sun behind somebody or where you're picking up the sun and you get that kind of blown out where the sun is. And usually that picture will have a number of bubbles or dots coming down to the corner, either on the left-hand side or the right-hand side. Can you kind of recognize what I'm talking about? Yeah. The bottom bubble, if you expand it, is a reflection of the sun. So that would be a good partial eclipse picture. Okay. But typically you're blowing it out. The other thing is, even if you put a filter on your camera, think about how you're going to have to hold it up to see the sun to know where to take the picture. If you try to do it this way, what are you doing? Well, first of all, you have to take your glasses off because you can't see what you're doing. You're going to be looking right at the sun. So you need to protect yourself from it. So if you're going to try and do it, my suggestion would be the question is do it over your shoulder. And still not the safest thing in the world. I'm going to talk some more about some of those. Wide angle or telephoto. This is, and I took a bunch of these out, but this is just to give people an example, and I don't want to bore everybody else to death. But if I had on these cameras, there's what they call a crop sensor or a full frame sensor. Full frame is like the old film cameras. Okay, it's kind of like what you see is what you get. Crop sensor does a little cutting of that, so it's almost like a magnification. So on a crop sensor, this would be a Canon APS-C. It's like 1.5 bigger. So if I had a 200 millimeter focal length telescopic lens, it would be effectively a 320. And that would be that size in my frame, the sun. And by the way, that's what it'll look like with a filter. Right? If I had it on a full frame sensor, where there's no cropping, it would be that size. So that could effectively be the same lens, just on a different camera. Does that make sense? The other thing I will say, this is a nice size, by the way. So is this. It's a 600 millimeter on a full frame. And I would suggest you can get bigger millimeters or use teleconverters to make it bigger, and you can go too big. And the reason I say that is when you get to the total, what you want to try and do is get some of the corona that's coming out here. So you want to make sure you're leaving room for that. Does that make sense? Because that I think is what's going to be the cool pictures.
How about a neutral density filter?
Neutral density filter? No. Multiple neutral density filters? No. You need to have, just like the glasses, can't use sunglasses, which is basically what a neutral density filter is. You need to have a solar eclipse filter on your camera. And you need to make sure if you're looking at anything through your camera, that your camera is a see-through the lens. Otherwise, you're gonna be looking at the sun. Yes, sir?
Where would you pick up one of those lenses?
Today?
Yeah.
I don't mean to be facetious, but it's too late. You might get lucky on some websites depending on the size you need, but they're hard to get, just like the sunglasses are hard to get. And I've got references to places that I can show you, but it's tough. I've been trying to help a friend find some, and I've made a couple, so I'm actually giving mine to some other people. Yes, sir. You? Oh, okay.
You wonder about getting a lens or the filter for the lens?
Oh, you were talking about the filter, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the filter.
I got mine from B&H in New York
When?
a week ago.
And I'm telling you today, go try and order the same filter.
It's $19. It's like, it's flat, and then you fold it over to slide over the lens.
Just make sure it's,
You tell them, what size lens?
yeah, just make sure it's the same filter that is safe.
Right.
Just, okay, well, just saying, $19 is too cheap, that's what I'm saying. Yes, especially from B&H.
If you're using a
Point and shoot camera.
where do you put it over the, like if you're gonna, if I'm gonna use the eyepiece, do I have my, how do you do it?
It's-
How do you set it up?
It's hard, because if you have your glasses on, you can't see anything until you actually are pointing at the sun. And it's hard to get it directly at the sun. My